Design can be subtle, like a typeface, bold, like Big Ben, or humble, like Policy Lab. 5 years design training. I drew our logo at 9 o'clock at night when we quietly launched Policy Lab onto the world on Twitter. But the best thing is I can draw it anywhere. What we do in Lab, to be honest, is better experienced than described. My favourite example is Food Standards Agency. When I started, I arrived to this room, a lot of people. I asked them, who is creative? And about 3 hands went up at the back. So then I said to them, OK, I'm going to give you some spaghetti, and I'm going to invite you to build the tallest tower. And in less than 10 minutes later, this is what happened. It made me realise successful change has to come from the people affected by it. If I'd have told them to stack tables very dangerously, they wouldn't have done it. But design is the DNA of our approach at Policy Lab. In our projects, we put the user at the heart of what we do. In our policing project, we spent time with citizens discussing how they report crime in the morning, and then we met with the policing minister in the afternoon to share what we had discovered. This is a kind of an institutional bypass where real-time insights can be fed into those who are making the decisions. We use design techniques to map people's journeys and experience. We've got 14 tools we're currently trialling. And through our sessions, we reframe challenges and we reconfigure the landscape, bringing different experts together. This is the morning, and there is Giles York, Chief Constable of Sussex Police. They were excited, but they weren't really kind of doing much. And in the afternoon, it was like this. This is the sort of lean-in moment when everyone gets on their feet. At the end of that day, Giles said it was one of the best days he had ever experienced in work. In this project, working then with the Royal College of Art service designers, we took the embryonic ideas from that session and we tested them further. So that when, at the International Crime and Policing Conference, the Home Secretary announced that the Home Office would develop a prototype, we knew confidence was building in these new ways of working. This work is estimated to save forces 180,000 hours of police time and £3.7 million per year, co-designed by the police, based on deep insights from users. And last week, our prototyping for employment support allowance was announced by our minister at the Future of Public Services conference. It is very slowly becoming part of the language of policy making. Interest, though, is growing. And we have a pipeline of these projects from housing to family policy. We're here to help policymakers do firsts for government, a safe space to trial new tools and work out what works. Our first policy jam for the Deputy Prime Minister impressed him so much he wrote us a personal letter. This session led to 2 more, one on business regulation and one on export. We opened them up and got business involved. They were inspiring, surprising and insightful. In Export Jam, around 200 people gathered in 9 regions connected to embassies around the world. Many people got engaged online. We generated over 1,000 hours of ideas and insights in one day. At Policy Lab, we think of ourselves as a pop-up lab. We can operate anywhere with anyone. Demystifying design is part of our everyday practice, but as is demystifying policy. We started life in Whitehall, but then we quickly outgrew that and started popping up in lots of places we could never afford to rent. We started hearing our projects being mentioned across the world, New York, Canada, New Zealand. Now, personally, I'm super excited about the emerging role for design in government and wider social good. Just like Big Ben, we're working to transform government from the inside out without the need for visible scaffolding. Just last week, Chief Executive of Civil Service John Manzoni spoke of the need to reform in public services. To do this, he said, we will require extraordinary creativity. So practically speaking, where will the energy come for reform? From designers, perhaps. From civil servants, undoubtedly. But more importantly, also from citizens. Keep calm and carry on perhaps should be replaced with your government needs you. We are able, as citizens, but are we willing to roll up our sleeves in a more socially minded Kitchener moment? So let me leave you with one final thought. By my reckoning, and I'm not an economist, the adult population of the UK is 35 times the size of the NHS. How might we spend our time co-designing and co-creating our public services of the future? How might government need to change in order to capture our imagination as designers, as citizens, as public service workers? If we're to realise the vision of government to the power of all of us, and if we want to reform the way government works to be more empathic, curious, and open, we're going to need to change. We need citizens to be more active, and we'll have to compete with, let's face it, the gratuitous randomness of cute pets on Pinterest, because citizens do have time. In Britain alone, we spend over 1 million hours per year watching funny pet videos. I made that up. Nobody knows the real number. It is, of course, much higher than that. And as funny as it is watching dogs do the funniest things, we could all be doing more with our collective creativity. So next time you hear Big Ben chime, take a moment to think about the work that's happening behind the scenes, quietly redesigning how we operate at the heart of government, and what you might do to make the world better by design.